The Adani group of companies has been the load-bearing beam that's held India's economy up. But what happens when it all comes crashing down? In this video, we'll be talking about the greatest corporate fraud in modern history, and what it took to finally bring these frauds to light. Stick around until the end of the video to see just how deep this fraud case goes, and how we might not be able to do anything about it. What is Adani? The Adani Group is an Indian multinational conglomerate founded in 1988. Gautam Adani, the founder and current chairman of the company, has used its success to propel himself to being the third richest man in the world and the richest man in India. Gautam himself is said to be worth $120 billion, $100 billion of which is from stock appreciation. But again, Gautam Adani is only as strong as his company, which in this case is pretty damn strong. The Adani group of companies attributes its success to their 7 key companies, all of which can be found in every major sector in India. The Adani Group controls India's energy supply with companies like Adani Power and Adani Green Energy, both of which are at the forefront to privatize energy producers in India. Then there are the infrastructure companies that have rooted themselves in ports and airports, basically controlling the country's import and export. This is supplemented by Adani Logistics, Adani Agribusiness, real estate, and even mining. And of course, every multi-billion-dollar conglomerate has to have their own defense firm as well. If you breathe, eat, travel, or even take a quick number 2 in India, then odds are you've given Adani a pretty penny. Because of this, Adani has become synonymous with India as a whole. Anytime you praise Adani, you praise India, and vice versa. And if you critiqued Adani, you critiqued India. This was exactly what Hindenburg Research did. The Hindenburg Research. Hindenburg Research is a US-based research firm that specializes in finding companies to short. In other words, they sniff out bleeding companies and place bets on when they're gonna keel over. Adani is one of those companies. In a now infamous report entitled "How the World's Third Richest Man is Pulling the Largest Con in Corporate History," Hindenburg exposes Adani for multiple discrepancies in their account. After years of research, Hindenburg found multiple traces of Adani manipulating stocks, committing accounting fraud, and taking on extremely high amounts of debt. To make matters worse, this wasn't even Adani's first rodeo. The company was already previously under tons of government scrutiny for fraud investigations, estimating the damages to around $17 billion. More on that later. The research takes a closer look at where Adani sources its funds and the offshore entities related to the company. The research revealed that the Adani Group's companies were all sinking in debt, pledging shares of their overinflated stocks as collateral for loans they've taken on. While that's what the financial records show, the ex-execs that Adani fired raise another concern: the fact that Adani was acting more like a family business rather than an actual corporation. 8 of the 22 seats on the Adani board belong to Adani family members, effectively acting under Adani's interests and not the company's. Not only is this a bad look for how the corporation is managed, but the Adanis at the helm weren't the cleanest people either. The managing director, Rajesh Adani, was arrested twice over forgery and tax fraud. The Adani family is dug so deep in questionable practices that you'd think fraud is genetic. But what's worse is they aren't even the ringleader yet. That role goes to Vinod Adani, the owner of multiple offshore shell companies that upon closer look show no signs of life. Fake websites and company profiles showing nothing but stock photos and generic content. These shell companies are the key to the Adani Group's biggest crimes: stock manipulation. To break down the hoops that the Adani Group had to go through, let's take a look at their shell companies. These offshore shell companies were used to park their stock and manipulate stock prices. Adani would sell their shares or securities to one of the many shell companies at their disposal, most of which are located in places that offer low taxes like the Caribbean or Europe. Let's look at it this way. Imagine you're selling cookies out on the street and no one's buying. So you think of a genius idea. You're gonna hire your brother or your brother-in-law or whichever blood relative you find, and you're gonna have them buy your cookies for you. For you and your brother, you aren't gonna earn anything from these sales, but to everyone else, they're gonna think your cookies are worth buying. Your sales number goes up, and since your sales are going up, your value as a company goes up. It's the same principle with stocks and the market. And the more valuable your stock is, the more likely it is to skyrocket. And better yet, because Adani is just continually cycling its money, their overall cash position only ever goes up. Now, doing this once or twice deserves a slap on the wrist, but according to Hindenburg, it's all that they do. Considering most of their wealth is made up for stock appreciation, Hindenburg may have just exposed Adani being held up by toothpicks. But the real nail in the coffin was Hindenburg's closing statement on the research. Hindenburg offered Adani one last chance to clear its name. A simple list of 88 questions that was easy enough to answer if Adani really was transparent about their business practices. But it seems Hindenburg researchers aren't expecting any answers, fully convinced they've cornered Adani.
You got me.
Hindenburg had already shorted many of Adani's stocks even before the report was released. Downfall. The reports were damning, and investors were getting worried. The Adani Group's investors, the real ones that is, were all ready to pull out. Everything hinged on the 88 questions that Hindenburg raised, and Adani's response, 413 pages of nothing with a little gaslighting sprinkled in for good effect. Adani knew that they were going to get away with it, and why not? Adani simply responded by saying that the 88 questions are baseless allegations and mental gymnastics to frame their company as fraudulent. Adani Group also emphasized that most of the questions on Hindenburg's list were already answerable through their website's files and other public documents. This response was not at all what the stockholders were expecting to hear, and this left them no choice but to pull out as fast as they could. Adani stock went into freefall, crashing and burning like the Hindenburg disaster itself. The share price itself plummeted by almost $12,000. That's per share. This cost the company billions, but this wasn't the only effect of the Hindenburg research. Gautam Adani's claim to being the third richest man in the world was soon shot down as well, seeing him fall all the way down to number 21, which isn't that bad all things considering. Although the company's financials were damaged, it was still a big company backed by most of India. It was the aftermath of this financial expose that truly burned a hole in Adani. Aftermath. As we've said before, Adani claims itself to be a representative of India, responsible for most of India's wealth, and provides the community with jobs. Adani as a company has gotten so influential in India that the CFO of Adani said that any attack on the company is an attack on India itself. Calling Adani fraudulent is basically the same as calling India a country of frauds, and this wasn't some delusional conclusion. Many of the people of India started following along with this mindset, starting trends such as #IndiaInc supports Adani on X. But now we have to question, why is that? How is a country so united under a single corporate flag? The answer lies in India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. Modi and Adani go way back, even before Modi's election in 2014, with Adani consistently supporting Modi's campaign. Needless to say, having a company be closely affiliated with the government should definitely be something to worry about. Because of these government links, the Adani Group has failed to see any substantial legal action.
You can't keep getting away with this!
Thankfully, Adani didn't get away scot-free. Their image as a greedy company with government cronies has been cemented to the public. This public image has caused fluctuations on Adani's stock price, and now only time could tell if Adani crashes for good. Let's just hope India doesn't crash with it.